Now, in the general pharmacology, let me discuss about what is called as the schedule of drugs. Right, let me discuss about what is called as the schedule of drugs. Now remember, like we have two important acts, that is Drug and Cosmetic Act 1940 and along with Drugs and Cosmetic Rules in 1945, they have put certain amendments, right? Its amendments describe various schedule of drugs. Let me tell you what are those important schedules. So, Drugs and Cosmetic Act, right? The Drugs and Cosmetic Act. So, Drugs and Cosmetic Act 1940 and as well as along with Drugs and Cosmetic Rules 1945. Right, Drugs and Cosmetic Rules which have been put up in 1945, their amendments, and its amendments describe various schedule of the drugs. Right, they describe various schedule of drugs. Now let me tell you the important schedules. Right, let me tell you which are the important schedules. The schedule, right, the schedule, it deals with, right, it deals with what is called as C and C1. What does this C and C1 stands for? It stands for biological and special products, right, biological and special products, that is your C and C1 stands for. Then we have F and F1. F and F1, they stands for bacterial vaccines. Right, they stands for the bacterial vaccines. Next, we have another important schedule which is called as G. If you take G, it is used for the drugs to be labeled with word caution. Right, so the drugs that need to be labeled, right, that need to be labeled with the word caution, right, that need to be labeled with the word caution. Remember, it is dangerous to make this preparation except under medical supervision. Okay, so remember, it is dangerous to take this preparation, right, to take this preparation except under, right, except under medical supervision. So that is what is called as the schedule G. Next we have what is called as schedule H. Now what is this schedule H stands for? Drugs that must be sold by retail only when a prescription by RMP is produced. Okay, so drugs that must be sold by retail only, that is only when, right, that is only when prescription by RMP is produced. Right, prescription by the RMP is being produced. Next, we have what is called as the Schedule M. Schedule M, it stands for good manufacturing practices. Right, it stands for good manufacturing practices, that is GMP. Next, the word P, it stands for expiry period of drug formulations. Right, this particular word P, it stands for expiry period of drug formulations. Right, that is what is your Schedule P. Then you have what is called as Schedule W. The word W, it stands for drugs that shall be marketed under generic names only. Okay, the drugs that shall be marketed under generic names only. Right, that is what is your word W. Then you have the word Y. Y stands for requirements and guidelines on clinical trials, import and manufacture of the new drugs. Okay, so the word Y stands for requirement and guidelines on clinical trials. So the guidelines, right, they are based on the clinical trials, and it also stands for import and manufacture of the new drugs. That is what is your Y stands for. So what do you mean by the word schedule of the drugs? Remember, Drugs and Cosmetic Act 1940 and Drugs and Cosmetic Rule 1945, they have described various schedule of the drugs, and the important schedules they include, or the schedule it deals with like various schedules. You take C and C1, that is biological and special products. You take F and F1, that is your bacterial vaccines. You take Schedule G, drugs to be labeled with word caution and it is dangerous to take this prescription except under medical supervision. And you take Schedule H, drugs that must be sold by retail only when a prescription by RMP is produced. And the word Schedule M, it stands for good manufacturing practices. And the word Schedule P, it stands for expiry period of drug formulations. And the Schedule W, it is drugs that shall be marketed under generic names only. And we have the Schedule Y, that is guidelines, requirements and guidelines on clinical trials, import and manufacture of the new drugs. Next, we also have what is called as the Schedule X. Right, we also have what is called Schedule X. The Schedule X, it stands for psychotropic drugs. Right, the Schedule X, it stands for psychotropic drugs. So remember, psychotropic drugs requiring special license for manufacture and sale. Right, they require special license for manufacture and sale. Right, that is the Schedule X. So this is about what is called as the schedule of drugs.